Hi guys, I'm going to go over how I started working on Hiccup's helmet. There's a lot of information here, so it's probably going to be junked up into a couple different videos. This is just the first one where I'm kind of tackling how I did the patterning and the mock-ups and those kind of things to the point where I could start working in leather. I started off by cutting out just regular pieces of paper and trying to affix them to my head and make it roughly that helmet shape, and it failed miserably. I probably used like 3 trees worth of paper. So because I do a lot of stuff in the 3D digital world, I made a 3D model of the helmet and then I printed it out with papercraft. So I'll show you how I'm doing that real quick on the computer. So for figuring out the patterns digitally, what I did is I went into Maya, and I know Maya, but you could use any 3D software, I guess, for this kind of prototyping. And then I took a picture of my face and I just put it on an image plane. This is just so I could get it the right size and actually have it the right size in real space. Then I took a previous head that I had and I made sure that it matched with all of the, that my cheekbones were out as far as my cheekbones go out, and that all of the measurements were roughly the same. I wasn't being too careful about it, and I wasn't trying to make this face anything close to pretty, because it just needed to be there so that when I sculpted this thing, it would work about right. I wasn't trying to even make this look that pretty, I just wanted it so that it would have the shape I was looking for, which it does. And now my cat's meowing at me. Sorry about that. Anyways, so once I got this shape, I also put the little things on the back, and I'd take this, I would get rid of the head, and I'd save this out as an FBX. Once I had that FBX, I would take it into Papakura, which is a program that takes 3D models and allows you to put them flat, and then you can cut out those flat things on pieces of paper and paste them all together. Papercraft is something really kind of useful as far as prototyping, because if you don't have a 3D printer, it's really hard to get something 3D out. And this is what I did in order to get my helmet to kind of do something. So once I did all that and I printed it out, I made a mock-up, and there's a bunch of tutorials online if you want to see different ways of doing papercraft. I just used tape, and the finished product doesn't look all that good because this wasn't going to be my finished product. This is just a thing to make a thing to make a thing that'll be the actual thing. So I didn't really care that much about this being that good. I also drew on it a lot. You can see all the different lines. Those are where I was planning on putting seams. Like you can see that there's blue lines and stuff. And where I cut off different parts, like that little orange bit I'd cut off, and I knew I needed to take in a bit there. So I just drew all over these, trying to figure out what I was doing. And after about 4 versions, I came up with something like this that worked relatively well before I came to my final mock-up version, which I can't show you because I cut it up into a bunch of little tiny pieces to make the pattern. So what I did is I took all these different seams that you see here, and I cut along the seams, and here we have our left brow, which goes here, and then the right cheek, which would go, here. And I just cut those. This doesn't give me any seam allowance though, so I needed to make the pattern that I would actually cut out of leather, and I did that just out of regular pieces of paper. So this is part of the back that all of this goes on in a, layered thing on the back of the helmet like this. And you can see here how this is the right brow, so this part, and you can see how I drew on where the seam allowance, there you go. You can see how I drew on where the seam allowance is going, so that I'd cut off more leather so that I could actually attach it to stuff. That's how I went through making the pattern for it. I've actually started some of this, and how I got to this far and farther I will show you on the next video. If you want to support me, there's a link to my Patreon page there. If you're just enjoying the videos, subscribe there. Whatever, if you have questions, please put them down in the doobly-doo or the comments, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, anyways, thanks for watching.